Welcome to Loremen, a podcast about local legends and obscure curiosities from days of yore. I'm Alistair Beckett-King.
And I'm James Shakeshaft.
And in this episode, we're joined by the comedian Michael Legge to talk about the legend of Fionn McCool.
So cool.
He is quite cool.
It's really cool.
Hello, James.
Hello.
Can I introduce to you a deputy law person who I, unbeknownst to you, sneaked into the recording space?
Yes,
All right.
certainly.
Well, open your eyes.
Oh.
It's Michael Legge.
Oh, hello, Michael Legge.
Hi guys. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
It's really good. It's nice being in this room. It's a very cosy room.
It is
isn't
cosy.
And it's very, very quiet considering the weather and the people.
Yeah,
out there.
There is a storm outside, and
people.
and
Yeah.
people
I mean,
inside.
come on.
People with an internal storm, each and every one of them.
And listeners probably know Michael from Do the Right Thing podcast. And,
Yeah, do that.
Comedy Central's alternative comedy experience.
Yeah, I did do that. I mean, it was a million years ago, but I did it.
Well,
did it. So you can't say I didn't do it.
You
No.
did do
It's
it.
on record.
Did someone record it?
Yeah, they recorded it. Okay. Not my bits, but the other bit.
And you challenged sort of stereotypes by being sort of an angry Northern Irish man.
Yeah,
in
that's
stand-up.
quite a challenge to that stereotype. Absolutely.
And, well, how are you, first of all?
Really good. It's really nice to be here in this beautiful venue. I've got such a soft spot for this venue. And when I walked in, I was welcomed, wasn't I? I was welcomed with open arms by Barry at the Bill Murray.
Yeah, oh,
here in
yes, for
Islington.
listeners might not be aware, we're in the Bill Murray.
Yes, and he offered me tea and I said no, and then he gave me a bath of tea.
It is a
huge-
Sports Direct mug of tea. It's gigantic.
It's big enough to have Sports Direct in a very large font.
I mean, that's where I go for my crockery.
Yeah.
Sports Direct.
Oh, yeah, I'm not a typefaceographer, but I would say that is 0.72 minimum.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Maybe even 110 on the sports.
Is it bold, Alistair?
Is it? But it's bold.
Oh, of course it is,
ever,
yes.
it's bold oblique, I would say.
Oof.
Ever so bold.
Thing is, if I drink all of this tea, I will be absolutely bursting. But the good thing is it's huge, this cup. So, and that's the Sports Direct way.
Giveth and it taketh away. It's so big, it could have http://www.sportsdirect.com on it.
Yeah.
And still be readable from afar.
Yes.
So, in this podcast, where we discuss obscure curiosities from history and local legends, that's not the way we normally say it. I've asked you to bring it because you are from Northern Ireland.
I am from
and because
Northern Ireland.
neither of us know anything about Northern Irish /Irish politics /history /folklore. And the last thing we'd want to do is upset those people because they seem quite touchy. We thought the most reasonable thing to do would be to invite you along to tell us a story.
To get an expert in.
To get an expert.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what piece of folklore are you going to apply your expertise to?
Well, I mean, what do you really want to know about? Do you want to know about Irish history? Do you want to know about Irish politics? Do you want to know about Irish folklore?
I think it's folklore.
Let's go.
I
was really glad about that because I know nothing of all three. But if I knew anything, it would be the third one.
And so, we've invited you along, Michael, to tell us a little bit about the story of Fionn McCool.
Right.
Fionn McCool.
Not Phil Cool.
No.
Which is a shame because that's also a great story. The legend of working in the Embassy Club in Manchester in Manning.
Is he like the Irish Fido Dido?
Well, I don't know what Fido Dido. I mean, I've heard of Fido Dido, but it's never crossed my mind to find out what Fido Dido is.
Yeah, it's one of those noises that is in my head as well.
Fido Dido, he was a stablemate of the Cool Spot in that they were both sort of personifications of the 7-Up brand.
Oh,
right.
So is he?
Fido Dido was.
Did they work together, or did Cool Spot regenerate into Fido Dido?
I think Cool Spot probably undercut Fido Dido and got him ousted, basically.
Right.
Or Fido Dido had a few skeletons in his animated cupboard. But Fido Dido was he was the coolest thing. If he had a name that wasn't Fido Dido, it would be Fionn McCool.
Oh, sure.
Because that's the coolest name.
I realised I have heard of Fionn McCool before today.
Right.
And I realised only when researching it that I have always visualised Marty McFly from Back to the Future as Fionn McCool. But in reading into it, he doesn't
No,
He does not fit the description
no,
at all.
Michael J. Fox is quite short.
He's very short.
and
Noticeably.
Finn McCool's quite tall.
Well, according to my reading, he was so large that when he was in his house, his feet stuck out the door. Although,
But the house
Could
was
be,
small.
yeah, that could just be a small house.
That's exactly what Westwood and Kingshill say. We don't know how big the house was, but whatever size it is,
Yeah.
unless he was renting in London, it's impressive.
So what happened was, this is the story that I know Finn McCool. Not Phil McCool. No, not at all.
A few stories there.
A few stories there. But Finn was a large fella, very foreboding, but somewhat kind. Like I guess if you were a wolf, he probably wasn't that kind to you because he went around throttling a lot of wolves and then eating them. Not a lovely vegan like us. No, not lovely vegan.
James isn't a vegan. You'll enjoy eating a wolf now and then.
I'd throttle a wolf and then eat it, sure.
Yeah, sure. Then you're going to love this guy. Although he's not as brave as he sounds, because I mean, going around throttling a wolf, I would say that takes balls, right? This guy is not all he's cracked up to be, because there's a giant that hears tell. That's how you tell stories in the old way. He hears tell of the wonder that is Finn McCool. Finn McCool, by the way, is making a walkway from Ireland to Scotland, because in the old days there was no walkway like there is now.
Or ferry, probably.
There was no ferry or plane or anything like that. You had to swim if you wanted to get to Scotland, which probably would have been fine for Finn McCool, but not for everyone. So he made.
It's not for everyone.
Yeah, it's not for everyone, is it? Him and David Williams, and no one else could have done it, right? So he built the Giant's Causeway, which of course stretches from Northern Ireland via a Led Zeppelin album cover all the way to Scotland, right? And while making this, someone comes along and just goes, listen, this giant, whose name I can't remember, Brennan and Infant. Let's call him Brennan and Infant.
I think it means the red man or the big red man.
The big red man,
but probably in Scots or Irish Gaelic. And
I mean, that could be anyone over there, right? That could be anyone.
That's what homeless guys call me when I'm walking around anyway. Hey, big red man.
Yeah.
Yes, a quid.
But imagine if that is your name in Scotland, Big Red Man. But like, there's loads of them. Oh yeah, Big Red Man. But imagine if you're a really big. Then you'd be known as Big Red Man. But anyway, so I reckon it is Big Red Man because he's a giant.
Yeah.
And he's going, he thinks he's all that, does he? Going around killing wolves. I don't think he's animal rights or anything. I think he's just a hard nut.
I mean, as annoying as vegans are, giant vegans would be the worst.
I think of myself as a giant vegan. I'm trapped in a much smaller man.
And he would eat 10 Greg's sausage rolls at a go.
Yeah, so he goes, so Finn McCool hears about this giant and goes, listen, I'm hard as nails, but there's a line. So what he does is he goes to his house, which as we know, he can't quite fit into. He tells his wife, listen, this giant's coming and I'm going to get my head kicked in. And she comes up with a brilliant idea because she's he wouldn't marry an idiot. This guy is a top-notch dude, so he's not going to marry an idiot. She's a smart woman. She's
Mrs. McCool.
She's Mrs. McCool.
Una McCool.
Una, you're right. Una, you're right.
Una.
Do you know? Have you had the McCools over? You must
do
have
know
them
the
over.
McCools. Yeah.
No, it's a vegan wolf. Oh God.
No, he's a little big. Yes, so we kept him in the garden.
We have a porch.
Yeah.
Does that help?
Oh, his feeder's taken out the conservatory. So she comes up with this brilliant idea. Why don't you dress up as a baby? A lot of men are into that, and we can't knock him for it. If that's what he's into. And you dress up as a baby, and when the giant comes around, I'll say you've popped out, and I'm just looking after, our baby, and that's how big you are. Because look, so giant knocks on the door, and I go, oh, he's not in, but come in, and I'll make you some sort of let's call it potato bread or some sort of bread that you make on a skillet. And he tries to intimidate Una by sitting there waiting on Finn McCool, correct? So he grabs rocks and just crushes them with his fingers, and with his thumb and forefinger, just crushing them. And but she's not intimidated because she's a smart woman. She's cooking in the kitchen, but she's sneaking something into one of those potato bread cakes. She slips in an actual iron griddle into one of the cakes, but she's making a whole batch of them. And she gives him his cake, and he just goes, yeah, I'm a giant, I'm hard as nails, look at this rock, I've just squeezed it. And then he bites into this one potato bread cake that has that iron griddle, and of course his teeth chip. And he goes, oh, really? Because that seems a bit weak. because Finn eats these all the time. Anyway, I'll just give one to the baby, and the baby, it's not a baby. The baby eats it in one gulp, dead easy, and that's when the giant goes, do you know what? I'll leave this, and he off back to Scotland. What a lovely story.
Very clever.
That is but one of the stories of
Oh, absolutely.
Finn
That's
McCool.
that's a story.
That's just the baby
It's just
dressing up story.
that's just the baby. Another version of the same story has there's a series of those sort of things where she says, she's got like a big rock on the end of a pine tree, and she says, oh, well, that's his spear. So it's a series of incredibly large things building up to him being, in some versions of it, in the bath covered in a sheet, pretending to be a baby in a cradle.
Oh, I don't remember that. I don't remember that.
And she gets like 4 Kit Kat Chunkies and
Yeah.
sticks them together and like, this is his Kit Kat, normal size one. I know that would make him look small, actually.
It would make
The
him look
opposite.
smaller.
She gets a Kit Kat Chunky and
Yeah.
she gets a Kit Kat and says it's Kit Kat Chunky in his hands. That's how you do it, right?
No, it's the other way around. Gets a Kit Kat chunky and says that's a Kit Kat in his hand. Right?
But then he'd look small.
Then he'd look small. If anything, we want a mini Kit Kat.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
to hold.
Yeah.
It's very, just as well we weren't in charge back then.
Yeah. Because too much perspective.
Storytelling and the passing down of those stories, really hard.
Yeah, oral traditions.
I mean, if we had been back then, gone, let me tell you the story of Finn McCool, he would not have survived.
What sort of Kit Kat was it?
He had a tiny Kit Kat.
I don't want to suggest that the baby thing was a pattern, but he also was once charged by a druid called Finnegan to go and catch the salmon of knowledge, which he did, and he brought it back.
No, that's not real, the salmon of knowledge.
Sorry, I said it in the wrong way. The salmon of knowledge. Whoa. Yeah. So he went to get that, and he brought it back, and he was cooking it for the druid. And he burnt his thumb. So he sucked his thumb like a baby would, and immediately gained the knowledge of the salmon of knowledge. And so whenever he needed wisdom, he would just suck his thumb. That's what it said. And I didn't connect it to the dressing up as a baby story until you said that. But there's a pattern emerging.
Yeah, he's got an infantilism thing.
Like, he did have fights with giants. He was a big man.
Right,
Like,
okay.
really, really big. Like, bigger than a big man. I don't know, what's the biggest manning thing of, like, Stephen Merchant? He's bigger than him.
Bigger than Stephen Merchant. Andre the Giant.
Like, he's bigger than Andre the
bigger-
Giant.
So he's like a medium big red man.
Like he's... Yeah, he'd be like a Ronnie Barker to the big red man's, Ronnie Corbett. No, he'd be Ronnie Corbett.
It's Kit Kat to Kit Kat
It's so
Chunky all over
confusing.
again.
It's so confusing.
He'd be a Kit Kat to a Kit Kat Chunky.
I guess so. There we go.
Yeah. Or, a Toblerone to a holiday Toblerone. Old school, pre-Brexit Toblerone we're talking.
Yeah, because we don't know when this might have gone out
I mean,
before
we might
Brexit.
not.
This might have gone out
We
before
might not
Brexit.
ever have Toblerone ever again.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
You've just put a human face on this whole thing for me.
Yeah, well, there you go. I hadn't thought of that.
Wait a minute, Switzerland, it's Swiss. Surely we got to have a special trade deal.
Oh,
they're not in the EU,
that's
if
true.
anything.
That's true.
Just for clocks and triangular chocolates, if nothing else.
Honestly, I thought this. How the have rainbow drops survived? Like, how is that? How has that beaten so many industries? Coal, the car manufacturing, and rainbow drops have survived.
The Swizzles
That's
factory.
insane.
Can you still get sherbet fountains? Are they still around for the kids?
The
or is it all YouTube these days?
I think
Snapchat.
Dib dabs. Dib dabs and
Dib-dabs.
TikTok took
I never
over.
liked Dib dabs.
I loved a dib dab because I didn't really like licorice.
I like the licorice one.
You could use the lollipop as a spoon and just basically spoon sherbet straight into your face. I didn't really understand how
We
the
didn't
fountain
have these
works.
sweets growing up.
No.
We just had some sticks covered in sugar. And do you know what?
Sugar sticks?
Yeah, we're happy to get them. We're happy to get them. They're lovely.
Finn McCool had white hair, which apparently his
Pretty
name
cool.
implies. So the place where he was the leader of the Fianna. I'm so sorry about
Fianna
all
Fáil? What? What?
I'm really sorry about all the pronunciations of any Irish word that I try and say.
Sure, I'm not so good at them myself, so don't worry about it.
Good. So they live in a place called Ballyfin, which either means the town of him or it means the white town. The story is that he got the name Finn because he was walking along and he saw a beautiful woman crying by the side of a pool and she'd lost a gold coin in the pool. So the hero that he is, he dived in, probably only up to his neck because he's massive.
Right.
He got the coin and he brought it out. But when he came out, he'd been transformed into an old man. It was a trap. And when he went back to the village, nobody apart from his dogs recognised him. But luckily the dogs did recognise him.
Right.
And the Fianna forced her to turn him back into a young man again, but his hair stayed white forever. Like Doc Brown.
Or Steve Martin.
Or Steve Martin.
Well, he's been very much romanticised then, because the version of Finn McCool that I like to think of right here, that the Belfast Giants ice hockey team, that's we, he says with a Sports Direct mug. He's blonde.
He's blonde.
Beautiful blonde hair on the. He is the logo of the Belfast Giants.
Really?
Ice hockey team. And I don't know who's in the team anymore. I saw them many years ago. I don't know. I went through a very brief phase of thinking that I liked ice hockey. Let me tell you, I don't. I've got no interest. But I did find it fun going to the London Arena, which no longer exists, that is now in folklore, to watch Belfast Giants versus London. I can't remember what the London team is called. The London Craps. That's what we call them. And one of the Belfast players was called Jerry Adams. Go on, have a go at him. Have a go. It's a famously violent sport. Let's see, have a go at Jerry Adams.
His post-match interview was...
Oh, absolutely.
It took a while. To get that redubbed.
Yeah, one of the other team had to do it.
There's a weird semi-Scottish sidebar. May I introduce it? Mm-hmm. These stories were recorded by Finn's son, Oisin. Oisin, not Oisin.
That's all right. It's probably the only one I'll get today, so that's good.
Thank you. Well, as soon as I read that, I thought, like Ossian the Bard. And so I had to go and research Ossian the Bard. Have you heard of Ossian the Bard?
Don't think so.
No.
Well, I assumed same person. Right. And no. In 1762, a Scottish writer called James Macpherson discovered the writings and translated the writings of Ossian the Bard, who became known as a sort of Homer of the North, sort of epic Gallic Scottish mythologies that were hitherto completely unknown. And recent AI analysis of those stories has demonstrated that they're just the stories of Finn McCool with the names changed.
Oh, right.
And so James Macpherson basically just read the Fenian cycle or the Ossian cycle and then rewrote the stories. But the way they worked it out was that the characters' relationships, like someone begatting someone and then someone betraying or kidnapping someone, that all stayed the same, but he rewrote all of the rest of it and changed all of the names. So he created a fake Scottish mythology based on, I was going to use the word real, but let's not go too far, real Irish folklore.
Sure.
One more point in the Scottish sidebar is that the Giant's Causeway goes towards the Isle of Staffa, where they have a place called Fingal's Cave, and Fingal is their name for Finn McCool. And it's a tiny slit in the rock, but when you go in, it's 60 feet deep, so he could comfortably have stood up in there.
Can I just say I'm really glad I chose Finn McCool, because I'm enjoying this immeasurably.
Fingal is not as a cooler name as Finn McCool, though.
Fingal, no. Fingal?
Maybe that's why they called it that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we call him Fingal.
It's got a bit of a thingy
dinkus
quality to it. Like you can't really remember. He's no big red man.
By the way, James, when he said Homer of the North, did you go, dough?
Yeah.
I went,
But I was still thinking, how can I put that in a northern accent?
And then,
it's very difficult to
do.
Door.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he basically took the story. It's basically Force Awakens to Star Wars Episode 4.
Exactly. It's exactly
J.J. Abrams.
Right.
Obsidian the North.
Ossian the Bard, who isn't a real person,
right.
is just Oisin. He's a cleverly rebranded Oisin for the Scottish market.
Do you know the story then, and I'm pretty sure it's Finn McCool, where he has a fight with an English giant? Do you know about this?
Is this the guy with the massive axe, or is it a different giant? Because he fought a lot of giants, James.
Right. I imagine he had a bowler hat and an umbrella. That's how I imagined him. I can't remember. I wasn't there, so I'm not going to gossip. But apparently during this fight, Finn McCool just put his hands into the ground in Ireland and flung a piece of ground, but missed England, and it landed in the sea. And that is how Loch Ness in Northern Ireland was made, and how the Isle of Man between Northern Ireland. And that did happen. That's on YouTube.
Yeah, because both the Loch and the Isle of Man do exist.
They are there,
yes. Yeah. So how else did it get there?
Yeah. Has anyone got any better ideas? No. Case closed.
We don't normally say case closed at the same time, but that means the podcast's over.
Yeah, the case is now actually closed.
The curse has been lifted, and we don't have to do this anymore.
Unfortunately, Michael, you are now cursed to run the podcast.
It's like it follows.
The big axe guy, or known as the Knight of the Full Axe, was yet another, so the fourth or fifth giant he had to fight, whose axe was 7 acres across the blade, absolutely massive. So it made Finn
Absolutely
McCool
impractical.
look like a small red man. Anyway,
He's the small, big red man.
I don't know what he would be in Kit Kats, but small. He would be Ronnie Barker to John Cleese on the Frost Report sketch.
Okay.
So there's a big difference.
Corbett, let's stop getting our Ronnies wrong.
Ronnie Corbett to John Cleese. Oh,
We're getting the wrong Ronnies.
And even John Cleese, that's not his name. John Cheese.
Oh, yeah.
It's a nightmare, this thing.
My wife never believed me. I think she still doesn't believe me that John Cleese's real name was John Cheese.
Yeah, no, his real first name is Cheese. His real name is Cheese Cleese.
It's Cheese. John Cleese.
Yeah.
Cheese Cleese.
Who should we get in for this? Cheese Cleese, please.
But what are the fees?
This story goes that McCool was he was on his little conical, I think it's called, little boat. So he just kicked
Coracle.
It was a long Irish word that looked a bit like coracle, but it's not got an R in it. Right. Let's say small boat.
Oh yeah.
He kicked it out into the Irish Sea. It went about a mile out, and he just hopped into it, obviously, as he normally would.
Yeah.
And then saw a giant wading into the sea from the other side, barely coming up to his ankles. So an absolutely massive giant this time. He confronted him, and Finn said, "Okay, I'll fight you, but let's make it fair. I'm not on the land." So the giant dragged him toward the land. They got into a big fight. He pulled his sword. The giant pulls his 7-acre-size axe. But it's like the original boss battle, as they describe it, because he keeps swinging and swinging and swinging, and every so often he gets his axe stuck in the ground, which gives Finn a chance to run round the back and get some hits in with the sword.
Where there's the glowing red bit.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, that's how he knows where to hit.
Like, "Arr! Arr!" Same sound effect each time. Yeah. And then he pulls his axe out and it continues.
3 times.
Yeah, you get about 3. Yeah.
Yeah.
And each time he manages to cut more, he's basically cutting, it's quite horrible, steps into the back of the giant. So, after a little while, he's able to climb up the giant's back on the steps he's cut, whaps his head right off.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa.
The giant's dead, but he's been seriously injured and his entrails are loose. But the 12 princesses who were kidnapped by that giant come and tend to him, and he just says, "Just pop me in the boat. It'll take me back to Ireland. Just get me there." And they do that. And as he's sailing across, I don't know how to explain this bit. A crow flies down and pecks at his entrails. Horrible. But then transforms into a druid who explains that he had been cursed to be a crow until he had 5 bites of fat from Finn McCool's entrails, and so he'd been following him around every single day up until that moment. And now he was able to use his druidic powers to heal Finn McCool. Which
I guess that's worth it.
Yeah, but it was not really set up early in the story. I feel like if that was a film, you'd need to mention that before he conveniently appeared.
Also, if I was Finn McCool, I'd still not get over that for a while. I'd still go, that was odd. That was a really what a queer thing to happen.
I feel like I don't think a long-term friendship would be formed between you and the guy who had eaten a little bit of you.
But he'd saved your life.
Yeah, that's why it's difficult to James.
Well, yeah, I mean, quite the quandary.
Ireland must have really stunk in those days, like with the amount of dead giants.
And with his loose bowels.
Yeah.
I was looking at my notes to see if I had any more Finn McCool-related stories. All I've got is names of parts of the Giant's Causeway. Do you want to hear them?
Yes.
Oh, sure.
The Giant's Theatre.
Ooh.
The Giant's Pulpit. The Giant's Bagpipes. And the Giant's Granny.
Oh.
Yeah, nice.
I did not know any of that.
Does it really go? It doesn't really go all the way.
The idea is that it did, and I think Finn McCool might have smashed it at some point. It might. But did you know, and I literally read this in the news today, that the Prime Minister, at the time of recording, Boris Johnson, is planning a bridge between Scotland and Northern Ireland. Because he's mad. He's
because of his white hair.
He's Finn McCool.
He is not McCool.
No, he's Finn McCool. Yes. A little bit of political comedy there.
I liked it. Yeah, Finn McCool.
We're going to bleep all of those, so no one will know what witticisms you're making. It's just going to be Finn McBleep.
That's all right.
Well, Finn McBleep's all right, isn't it?
Yeah. He is a Finn McBleep. So it's time for the scores now. Okay. And bear in mind,
bring it.
The history of our country and Northern Ireland, James.
Yeah.
Just think about that while you're giving scores, okay?
Yeah, okay. Well, chill?
Yeah, it's been pretty laid back for a while now.
Okay.
The first category is names. Slash naming.
Yeah.
We've never decided what the name of that category is, ironically.
Yeah, well, Phil
Cool.
Finn McCool 5 out of 5. It's got to be.
Yeah.
That's the best name. That sounds like a mod. Like, if Finn McCool was at your school...
He would rule.
Yes, definitely, without a doubt. He would have a leather jacket.
Yeah.
Or faux leather, pleather, or pleather jacket.
I'm still seeing him wearing the body warmer from Back to the Future. I can't not see him as a very large Michael J. Fox.
You're like, what's with the life preserver?
Yeah.
Yeah. Doc
Why
thinks
is he
he's gonna
wearing
drown.
that? Why is he wearing that?
I think he jumped ship.
What?
That's from the film.
Oh,
It's my
sorry.
favourite film. I know the script off by heart.
So is there a script reason why he's wearing a life preserver, or is it just fashion?
No, it's fashion in the 80s, but then it's referenced by everyone in the 50s
Oh, very
as
good.
why he's out of time.
They were known as Mork jackets
Like Morgan Mindy?
from Mork and Mindy.
From Happy Days.
Yes, from Happy Days. That's exactly. So he wore one, and there is a name for that jacket, but I don't.
It's just called a body warmer, I think.
a body one, but there's another name for it.
Not like a gilet. It's like a budget gilet.
Oh, maybe that is what I'm thinking of. But anyway, they're Mork jackets as far as I'm concerned.
Michael J. Fox was my absolute hero when I was a kid. I did everything to look and be like him.
Sure.
Apart from
Except
befriending
not grow
Professor.
to 6'3" tall.
Yeah, that did happen. I used to always want to be Michael J. Fox, and then I realised that I'd become the Doc. And that's I think
still
part of the
all right.
aging process.
Look, you either die as Michael J. Fox or you live to see yourself become the Doc.
Well, I shared that, I think, bit of life truth with my wife, and she said, no, you're not the Doc. You're like the old Marty McFly from Back to the Future 2, whose dreams are all crushed.
So you are Michael J. Fox.
Yeah, at
Hey.
least. Got 2 ties.
Well, I'll be right in saying that's a 5 out of 5 for names.
Oh, definitely. Are there, out of interest... Well, you chucked in a few little bonus ones at the end with
it wasn't really necessary. We've got
the
Ocean.
stations of the Giant's Causeway.
Yeah.
I have a very brief little folklore tale that's got a guy with a brilliant name in it.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Right. Well, it's about the giant Cumhail, which I think is already...
That's just Colin with a
Yeah.
little
Yeah,
hiccup.
Colin. It's
Colin.
Colin. Yeah. The giant Colin. And he was basically, someone sent a message to him saying, listen, the biggest guy on the planet
Steve.
is, bigger Colin.
Steve.
is terrorising our town. He's going to come back. He's massive. And we need some help. And Colin just went, well, I am the Wolf of Ulster, so I better stick with that. So he went to this town knowing that this really big giant was, Big Steve, was on his way, hid in a forest, and he heard him stomping through the forest on his way to the town. And that is when Colin sprang out, ripped a tree from the ground, and shoved it right into this giant's mouth. So he choked on it, and it came out, basically his back end.
Wow.
And I can't remember the actual Irish name of this giant. It's not Big Steve.
Steve.
But I can always remember the translation of it. It translates as the man with a pole sticking out of his... So there you go.
Yeah, I mean, 6 out of 5 now.
6 out of 5. Yes. All right. The next category is supernatural.
Now, this is,
Just to make you aware, Michael, James is a hard taskmaster and he doesn't accept... Unless it's got ghosts in it, he never considers it to be supernatural enough. Even though we've got a magic crow. We've got magic entrails.
Yeah.
There's a druid?
We've got
There's a druid who magically makes someone who had a curse. That's good.
Yeah, we've got the cursed ring in the pond. We've got magic
gets
white
turned
hair.
into an old man. Yeah,
Sucking
the
your
white
thumb.
hair.
All the wisdom of a salmon.
He's more Doc than Marty, by the way.
We know.
He is Doc.
We know how the Giant's Causeway was built.
Yes.
So,
Right.
I mean, it's not supernatural to tell a lie.
I mean, it's got a decent amount of naturalness. Supernature. But I think it is not going to go past a 4 until we're talking
I
ghosts.
actually think that's fine.
Okay, I think we can live with
If
4.
there was a load of giants, this is quite feasible. If you did stick a tree in someone's mouth, it's going to have to come out the end.
Yeah.
So you're saying it's too realistic for you to give us 5?
Yeah, this is more like...
This definitely could have happened.
This
like
is
The
like
Wire.
kitchen sink folklore.
Yeah. Gritty Ken Loach.
Yeah.
Folklore.
Yeah.
All right, next category, size.
Oh, that's a big one.
Can you think of any
obviously.
other stories that have had as much size as this?
Well, I mean, the giants of Jenny's Valentine's story.
Yeah, but they were
Bryn the
small,
Blessed.
literally small fry by
Well,
comparison.
there was no house that can contain Bryn the Blessed, but apart from that, actually an Irish man built it.
Right.
That might have been the same house.
And then this guy
Finn
was
McCool then stood him he was too big for.
That's very good.
And then the other giants were even bigger than him.
Way big, because big red man.
Sure.
The biggest big red man. Biggest and reddest.
It was, Clifford the big red dog. It was probably his dog.
Whoa. Yeah.
I just saw a picture of Clifford the big red dog for the first time in about 15 years.
How does he look these days? I mean,
You would not believe.
he has to be dead. He has to be dead, right?
It's just the heart.
Yeah, it goes. Cause
You know what Irish wolfhounds are like? Well, think about
Exactly, because the bigger the dog, they do not last long.
I don't actually remember Clifford the Big Red Dog from my childhood.
I remember when I was at university.
Okay.
It was on kids' TV.
Okay, great.
But I looked back and it's just like, it's too big.
It's
How can they come up with any plots?
Do you know what? Technically, you just wouldn't be. It's a really tragic story. You wouldn't be allowed to keep that dog,
No.
and it would be put down. It's a tragic story.
But for in memoriam
Thank you.
of Clifford the Big Red Dog, I'm going to go for a 5 for size.
5, really?
Yeah, I think it's a quintuple XL for this.
Yeah.
For this guy.
Size 5 points. V,
Yeah.
It'll be V, I suppose, in
But then we're getting
Latin. Wait, I've just realised now that the XL measurement on clothes is not Latin
that's
for
not
11.
Latin.
I thought it was 11. No, it's just
40,
it's
isn't it?
extra large.
Yeah. What size
No,
T-shirt
it's
do you
40.
take?
That would be
11.
40. So it was capital L. I was doing
Yeah.
lowercase L. Yeah, that would
So
be 40.
double XL is 30. So it's actually getting smaller.
What?
5 out of 5.
5 out of 5. Well, I don't know how to phrase the final category.
Okay.
So, what I've written is there was quite a lot of dressing up as a baby in the story.
Yes. This does have a name. There's a particular fetish, I believe, that Channel 5 have made many documentaries about.
The question is, can you score it without actually thinking about it? That's the challenge that you're
I
experiencing.
don't think he was into it. He was like, I'm being, and also it wasn't his idea.
Yeah, I think it's his wife who was into
Yeah.
it, really. And maybe that's how they sort of introduced it, weren't you? Yeah. Well, look, I feel that if I were to give it any less than a 5, it would be considered some sort of hate crime.
Yeah, let's not shame him.
Yeah, I'm not shaming him. I'm just wondering, it's a very clever trick to be like, right, okay, someone's coming for me. I'm going to dress up as a baby.
My own giant baby.
To pretend to be my own giant baby to imply that I'm quite big. That obviously only works in a world where giants exist.
Sure.
To anyone listening, and the bailiffs are coming around, that's not going to work.
Give it a go.
Actually, you know what? Yeah, and while you're at it, stick some iron in your potato cakes.
The defendant was dressed as a giant baby. Of course, I immediately saw through his disguise. They're trained in this sort of thing. The bailiffs.
It's short for baby lifters, isn't it? Yeah.
Look, hang on, my back doesn't normally hurt this much.
This baby is bearded, but it has white hair. And they sometimes do babies.
Have white hair?
Yeah.
What?
Like the little...
If you've thrown them in a
ones.
lake to get a coin.
Yeah.
What do you mean by the little freaky ones?
What
What type of
the baby of the corn.
the toddlers of the corn. I've been to a lot of baby groups, and you get some like pretty freaky looking ones. I have a couple of babies myself.
Yeah. But yours are very attractive. I mean, a normal amount.
Yeah, and they've got dark hair. They're not freakish.
No,
like all blonde people.
But in the
This has
in
gone
the baby
off track.
group, in the baby group you attend, there are some really ugly babies. So let's dig into that.
Yeah,
How ugly and what are their names?
it's the ones that I think their eyes are too big, and they've
people
got
like
clips. They've got the mums have put clips, or dads have put clips in their hair, but their hair is
connected
more
to a
than
car battery. That's terrible. I mean, they're ugly, but that's not going to help.
Yeah, that is unconscionable, really. Yeah, that can't be. Wait a minute. What else does he do? He sucks his thumb.
He sucks his thumb to gain the wisdom of a salmon.
Oh yeah, the old smart salmon.
Salmon of knowledge.
Salmon of knowledge.
Yeah. The SOK.
Sort of old school Google.
Yeah.
Right.
Just sucking your thumb. What was the name of the guy who plays Martin McFly's dad in Back to the Future? Give you some little...
Crispin Glover.
There you go.
In the first one. priced himself out of the seconds because he refused to do a sequel.
Is he not in the second
I
one?
just
No.
watched them. They totally imply that he is because they reuse footage where he's in and they get a lookalike in.
The upside
It's
down
really
guy
cheeky.
is a lookalike. They found him at Universal Studios playing Stan Laurel, I believe.
Right.
And that scene where he's upside down is the scene that a lot of YouTube videos will say predicts 9/11.
Well,
You're going to have to search for that yourself after you.
it's about time travel, so they know.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so he only does two things as a baby, right? Were there any other baby related?
No, there are just two things.
Halloween, anything
But
like
he
that?
gets away with both things as a baby. And we know he's not just a fully grown man. He's a big fully grown man. And he gets away with two pretending to be a baby
Two
things.
baby scenarios.
But I think if you're a giant man from Northern Ireland who throttles wolves and stuff, and you start telling people you're a baby, I think they're going to go, yeah, all right.
Whatever you say.
Yeah, he's a baby.
He's a wonderful actor.
Oh, like the Daniel Day-Lewis
Yeah.
of the Giant Land.
Do you reckon Daniel Day-Lewis could play a baby convincingly? Like if they did a live-action Boss Baby.
Or Train Spotting.
He did play the baby in Trainspotting.
Yeah, he's very good.
I thought it was Serkis. I thought it was Andy Serkis. I'm going to say 3.
3?
Yeah.
That's a little bit disappointing.
Because we got 2 instances of babiness.
Yeah.
And he gets a bonus point for being quite good at it. But what? Bring me more. Don't. But bring me more examples of him being a baby, and there's going to be more points going around. But
You give it one go, dress up as a baby, and if anyone goes, yeah, baby, then I'll accept a 3.
this baby must have a big dad
Yeah.
with an even bigger beard.
Yeah.
I'm genuinely upset
Why?
that we only got 3 on that one.
Alistair.
Oh, someone's in trouble.
He only really acts as a baby once.
Yeah, and then
and the
he
other time he sucks his thumb. I'm not budging from 3.
all right.
Thank you.
All right, it's 3. I'll enter that in the ledger. I'll do the sound of it closing. Just sounded like a loud bang.
That was the story of Finn McCool. Thank you very much, Michael.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming on the podcast.
It was an absolute pleasure. It was really good fun.
And thank you for listening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, sure. Whatever.
That was a great story.
Did you enjoy it, James?
I loved it.
It seemed like you were enjoying it.
Speaking of cool, Michael Legge's top.
Yeah?
That was so cool.
The one he was wearing.
Yes. It was kind of like a black hoodie with like these sort of flower patterns on the side. It was so nice, Michael. Where was it from? I want to get one.
Join us next week where that mystery will not be solved.
No, but we'll be talking about the devil. It's the devil and Jeremiah Stone.
That sounds cool.
It does sound cool. It sounds like a blues album. But it's not. It's about the English Civil War.
Yeah, listeners to the podcast speculate where Michael might have got his top from.
Top Sharp?
Tarp Sharp.
Yeah, Top Sharp. From the Top Man.
What accent are you doing there? Is that Irish?
It was one that I invented for a sort of personification of David Seaman, and I called him Starve Salmon. And it was just whenever we watched football in the sort of late 90s, early 2000s, I'd do a voiceover for the England and Arsenal goalkeeper. I'd be like, I kicked the ball really hard there up the patch. And basically all vowel sounds are replaced with an R, and then that became basically a secret language between me and my friends, and you can write coded messages to each other
In Seamanese.
on the style of Starve Salmon, yes. But I'm a bit nervous about putting it out on the podcast because people will be able to work out my card.